o'clock in the studios. You have Classic 105.5 and 105.9 on the FM band. Good morning to you, Grenada, Carriacou, Martinique, the rest of the Eastern Caribbean, to you wherever you are. It's a wonderful Tuesday morning. It is the 15th day of the month of March. For those of you who probably, if you get paid fortnightly, you're worried about getting, if you're broke already, then I'm sorry. We still have another halfway to go. But for those of you that are just living as you normally do, indeed, it's a pleasure being here with you in the morning time. It is to the point for today, the 15th day. Today being Tuesday, it is my guest this morning. I'll be introduced in just a bit, but I certainly want to say thanks to those of you that's joining me on television. That's Classic 105.5 and 105.9. That's Radio Sari. If you're on television, on GBN Channel 7, Channel 11, and Channel 20, if you are in cable. Or for those of you that's probably on the World Wide Web at www.gbn.gd. We say thanks for being part of the broadcast. We also say good morning to those of you that's joining me via the World Wide Web at www.gbn.gd. Our YouTube page and our Facebook platform as well. This morning, my guest, no stranger to Grenada, but is a stranger to the GBN, though. We want to say good morning and welcome to Jonathan Crette. He's NEC's caretaker for the Constituency of St. George's Northwest. Johnny, allow me, folks, I can call him Johnny. That's a privilege that I've been endowed with because of history and everything else. I'm allowed to call him Johnny. Good morning, Johnny. Welcome to The Point.
Good morning, Joseph, and thank you for having me. And to all your listening audience, pleasant morning to Grenada, Carriacou, Martinique, the Eastern Caribbean, and the rest of the world.
From whence have you come from? Where have you been?
I've been around. Yeah.
You've been around?
Minding my own business.
No.
I can see this morning is going to be a real trip.
You just have water. You drink your water.
And minding my business. Most assuredly. But I've been around.
You have been around.
Yeah, doing my own thing.
And I ask you that because it's always a question that people ask when you enter the political fray. Mm-hmm. They ask you, where is the Johnny come lately from? Yeah. And you really would be a Johnny come lately. Yeah. But tell us about Jonathan Crette. Who are you?
Well, Jonathan is a builder of people. Jonathan is collaborative. Jonathan is inclusive. Jonathan is engaging. I thrive on social interaction, especially with my youth, with the middle age, and with the elderly, of course, with individuals at all stratas of life. I think that it really is a breath of fresh air for me to be so engaging and so sociable and interacting with individuals from a cross-section of society. It gives me life to hear their stories, their background, the things they've been through and how they were able to hurdle through those circumstances and challenges, and to listen to good counsel at the same time and take that good counsel and translate it into assisting other individuals to get out of their circumstances and situations as well. Yeah.
I think the conversation as it surrounds getting out of our circumstances, if you take away the political mirage that is always there, we all agree that our hope, our prayer, and our intention is to move from where we are to the next level. Yeah. The question as to how we get there. You would agree that some of us we born and we know how to move along.
Yes.
Others we need help. Yeah. And you joined the political fray, but you've been in education all of your life, working with young people. That's how I know Jonathan.
Yes, yeah. I guess education was the platform, because notably so you must start somewhere. And I think that education was my platform to mount me to this particular season of my life. And it is working in my favor, I must say, at this particular juncture. Educating for the past 20 years or so has been an extreme thrill. It has given me great rewards, and as a result of that, I think it is not. I mean, I've always been in public office because, education is in the public sector. But this level of public servanthood, I believe that it is time for me, it is the opportune time for me to step into the limelight and to be a part of the change process that Grenada so needs at this particular juncture in its history.
For those of us who know Jonathan, we've never argued that you would always be a process of change. But politics, for some, they say, I didn't see this one coming. At what point did you get to that realization? You know what? This is where I need to be.
But politics is leadership, Joseph, and leadership has always been a part of my repertoire of skills. It has always been a very strong competency of mine, and I see getting into the political arena as an act of leadership and serving the people. I've always served. We've known each other for I can't remember how long.
Let's not cut.
I can't even remember how long, but we've known each other for maybe over 2 decades. And I've served in various capacities at the NGO level, and the church is categorized as a particular type of NGO.
Right.
And in the private sector, in the public sector. And this is just another level for me, or another degree of leadership that I desire to advance into, to serve the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, and justly so. Yeah.
Indeed. I'm going to throw I'll pop this question at you, because at some point it is going to come up. And for me, I always believe you beat the iron while it is hot. Politics, and I'm one that I'm fully persuaded that it has a morality.
Correct.
And anybody wants to argue, they can argue. But there's always a persons, especially given that you're strong Christian. The Christian foundation that we know, there's some who seem to think that there's no place for a Christian in politics. And it's going to come up some, and he's heading to ask you right off the cuff. What is your response to them, Johnny?
If you're talking about the institution of the church, I came prepared for you this morning. But I mean,
I would have been disappointed if you came not prepared.
But no, I've had some time to also think about it. Even when you had other political colleagues or church colleagues getting into politics a few years back, you have an opportunity to sit and think, as to why individuals who constitute or comprise the ecclesiastical arm of the country would get into the political arena, because we are supposed to be change agents when we get there. But if you're talking about the institution of the church and the institution of state and their specific societal mandate, that's one thing. But there are individuals who constitute or comprise the church, and there are those who constitute or comprise the state, and they have specific destinies and purposes upon their lives, and it may not even be within the organizational structure of the church and state. No, that's a political response. But it's also a very substantial and a good response, because you are in church, you're a Christian, but your calling is radio.
But the dynamics.
You are used also within the structure and organizational facet of the church. But from a professional perspective, this is where God is using you to speak to the nation. So there are individuals with various callings upon their lives. There are those of us who are called to both worlds and to serve with some degree of balance, especially where stewardship and effective leadership is concerned. And that is something that I really hold dear to as it relates to. I think we need better stewardship and we need more effective leadership in all facets of our political strategy.
You just tapped into it. The question is, can you strike a balance?
Of course you can.
Is it possible?
Of course you can. Everybody has a moral fabric or a moral compass, and if you sense or feel that this moral fabric or moral compass is being crossed over, you take a back seat as it relates to assessing your own self, doing some self-introspection or some self-actualization, and you forecast where you want to go next from there. There are going to be challenges for anybody, Joseph, whether you are of a Christian background, nature or not. Getting into the political arena will pose its challenges to you as an individual, but you have to ensure that your moral ground and your moral fabric is solid enough that you're able to stand and make the kind and type of decisions that will speak to you being a balanced individual, coming out balanced at the end of the day and with the sanity you went in with. And I believe that you give yourself parameters to work within, and if you feel or you sense that those parameters are being crossed, you check yourself at the checkpoint.
Interesting. 10 minutes gone past the hour to the point in the morning time. NDC candidate for St. George's Northwest.
Why are you laughing, though?
I'm laughing because I know what the pundits are thinking. And it is a questions that are going to continue to be asked, especially in the context where we live in a society, an ever-evolving society, where, yes, we characterize ourselves as being Christian society, and we're not going to argue that. We're not going to argue that this morning. But there is the traditional lifestyles that we're used to, the traditional lifestyles that we're used to, and then there's we now live in an evolving, emerging society. We're going to talk about that, but before we do that, though, we'll take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back this morning, right here on To The Point in the Morning Time.
Get ready for a season of Grooving Smooth and Live on GBN. Grooving Smooth and Live is a 1-hour performance gig every Thursday from 8 p.m. featuring performances from our local musicians and short interviews discussing all things musical. Every Thursday, a different musician and a different instrument will be featured, from the violin to the saxophone to the trumpet, guitar, and steel pan. Our local musicians playing, improvising, and educating us on all genres of music. Join GBN with host musicians Matthias and Shireen, and a special guest every Thursday at 8 p.m. It's Grooving Smooth and Live on GBN.
Join GBN on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. for Interesting Grenadians, a program that showcases the lives of interesting and outstanding Grenadians at home and abroad. It's Interesting Grenadians every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. on GBN. Don't you miss it.
Good morning. Welcome back to the program, To The Point, for today, the 15th day of the month of March. And my guest this morning, Jonathan Crette, my friend, my palos. We've got back a pretty long way. And I remember, Jonathan, when I got the news, I heard the news, I remember I called you, and you and I had a specific conversation.
Yes, we did.
But we're not going to labor too much on that, because there's a lot of issues that you and I would always talk about.
Yeah.
And but of course, there's other issues of national concern. We all agree change is one of the constants that is needed. It's one of the constants in life. And what sort of impact do you see, you as an individual? You said you've always been a leader. You've always been in a leadership position, involved with young people, community, and leadership is who you are and what you do. But how do you see yourself as being a part of this new dispensation of change that is being considered and been spoken of by the National Democratic Congress?
Well, the sociocultural dialogue and the sociocultural evolution is necessary, especially in societies as ours, as we would term it economically, small island states. It is necessary for the evolution of thinking, for the evolution of behaviors, and for the evolution of culture. And because it is necessary, you must have individuals who lead that change process and lead it effectively and lead it well. So I see myself as a transformative change agent in this entire process. Facilitating a dialogue amongst, well, not just only my constituents, but Grenadians on a whole, a dialogue that is sustainable, because that's one of the watchwords for my campaign, sustainability, or sustainable communities. So facilitating a dialogue on subjects or topics that leads to the sustainability of our country, that leads to the sustainability of our community, being an excellent listener, as a part of the change process, being a transformative change agent, you must be able to sit and listen to the concerns of people, hear where their heart is and what they desire to see futuristically, be an agent of the change be an agent of growth and be an agent of evolution as it relates to growth in mindset. I think that is very important, because we do know that we have a particular culture here in Grenada as it relates to the political mindset. We have grown accustomed to a particular political culture here in Grenada, and as a result of that, it is going to take some time to kind of debunk those things that we have learned along the way for the past 20-something years as it relates to what politics look like, what politics should be. And I believe that we now have a responsibility of stewardship to ensure that we reteach and that we re-educate our people as it relates to what 21st century society should look like, and that will cascade into the political aspect of things.
What should the 21st century look like? You talked about some of those stigma, the culture, and you can well appreciate that culture, it takes time. But there is a starting point. For you, Jonathan Crette, where do you see yourself starting? Where is your starting point as it relates to that change that we talk about? Paint me a picture.
My starting point is building stronger relationships, building stronger bonds with people, and that starts with a conversation. So as I'm on the ground right now in my constituency, dialogue is the modus operandi for me and my team as we dialogue with people, because I think people want to be heard. They want to be listened to, and as a result of that, relationships are becoming stronger because a conversation is being had. So I see myself as that go-between. I'm not Jesus Christ, though. So I see myself as the go-between, as that bridge that is bringing that kind of alignment to what was and what is going to be. Yeah.
You said you're on the ground. What are you hearing from the people in terms of their needs, their concerns?
I always take a sigh of relief whenever I'm asked that question, simply because from traversing the ground for the past 2 to 3 months or so, you recognize that there are a lot of individuals who are living in gross poverty. I may even go as far as to say abject poverty, when you see their living conditions and they are unemployed. And I said to a friend of mine the other day, it is an extremely humbling experience when I speak to individuals and the conversation is brought to tears, actually, because they are not able to make 2 ends meet and feed their families. People want better housing, Joseph, affordable housing. They want to be able to have clean running water coming through their taps and water that is not consistently contaminated or discolored. People want to be able to, at a basic domestic level, let me just be real with you this morning. Mommy, I would like to have money for bus this morning. You'll have to stay home today. I don't have.
That happens in Grenada?
Yeah. Oh, yes, it does. And just coming from the teaching service, oh, yes, it does. People want to be able to live headache-free, not knowing that they have bills that are piled up, that they have to worry how they are going to be paid. People want to be able to go to the grocery and not pick up items and count while you're picking up, that you don't cross over the $50, if you understand where I'm coming from, because these are real-life circumstances and situations that many of our Grenadian citizens are facing at this particular point in time. But specifically to Northwest, people want to see a community that is sustained. In fact, the transformation of the constituency into a community where you have stronger bonds and stronger relationships, people with a common goal, common interest, working together to fulfill common objectives, is what people want to see.
But somebody asks, isn't that already there? It's probably just not what you are not seeing it.
I know that you're trying to play devil's advocate, but no, it's not there. So I'm right off the bat.
How do we determine that it isn't there? They have been living there all their lives.
Because you see, Northwest, the constituency has never had a viable roadmap to what a social structure should look like in the constituency, to what the community should be involved in at all different levels of the community, engaging its people. Yeah, I have not seen that level and degree of engagement, even as a boy growing up in the constituency and after working there for almost 20 years professionally. You do not see that level of social and structural engagement that is needed for the community to evolve and be sustainable. So, and that is the premise for my argument this morning, that the constituency needs to evolve into a community where you find individuals coming together under one umbrella and working towards common goals and common interests, as I alluded to before. I think it builds stronger bonds, it builds stronger relationships, and this is what I am all about. It is what the National Democratic Congress right now, the newly reformed National Democratic Congress, is all about: building stronger bonds with our people, building stronger relationship, and leading. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, Joseph, and I said to her, we have not been very responsible stewards over the resources that were placed in our hands, whether through equity or equality. We really have not been responsible stewards. And I think that there is a season that is coming where responsible leaders and responsible stewardship is going to be the modus operandi of our economic structure, Caribbean-wise, contextually to Grenada, and also across the world. Despite of the wars and rumors of wars, I really do believe that there's no place for us to go now rather than up.
Right.
Yeah, because we've already been down, and justly so. And I think that it is time that we really evolve as a country, and that Grenadians begin to breathe a sigh of relief again,
but can we really,
and trust the administration that it puts in power.
But can we really do that? In the context of our limited resources, there's a conversation of change, and I think each and every one of us, we accept that. But then you have to stop and ask yourself the question, with our limited resources and those whatever we have that's been depleted, and our dependency on what's happening, and everything is agitated by what's happening in the West
internationally,
as it is.
Yeah.
What vision are you talking about?
Yeah.
Someone's saying, listen, this is our demise. There's no way out of this.
No, but we cannot be so pessimistic. We must be optimistic, because there are ways for us to be able to transform our society into a 21st society, whether it be economically through geothermal energy, through agricultural practices that are sustainable, through research institutes, rearing crops and animals that are pest resistant, disease resistant. Joseph, in order for all those things to happen, I've always said that our administration currently lacks the political will to really sit down and judiciously put the kind of structure and plans in place that can speak to a sustainable, well, not just community, but a sustainable economy. And I really believe that everything rises and everything falls on good leadership. And as a leader, you must be able to have some kind of foresight and some kind of vision as to where your economy is going, where your country is going, what are some of the social ills that you perceive you are going to be dealing with in the next 20 to 25 years, and begin to put a structure in place. And that is why a national strategic plan for our country is extremely important. We have one. Where are we? Where that is concerned, I don't know, because we seem to have a doctorate in putting things on paper as a country, and implementation seems to be very far-fetched, and we have an issue with that throughout all of our sectors, even in the church. But nevertheless, I think that once we have the right kind and type of leadership sitting in various offices, or that occupy various policy positions in our nation, I believe that we should be in the right hands, because the right policy agenda is going to speak to Grenada 2050, Grenada 2040, etc.
Do you think the greater society is ready for that which you speak?
We will have to we will have to prepare them for the change process, because, as you know, as a people, we're not very likely to change. But nevertheless, through conversation, it's just like with the referendum that we had a couple of years back, 3-4 years back. Effective dialogue and conversation with the people as to why this is necessary and why time demands it and history compels it, I think it is very important. And if at the end of a conversation or dialogue people say, you know what, I don't think I want to change, I want to remain like this, there are some decisions that governments across the Caribbean, across the world, would have to take in the best interest of their people, with the hope that eventually individuals understand and see what the bigger picture is. And you just hope for the best. At this particular juncture in Grenada's history, we have to hope for the best. What our people need right now, Joseph, is hope, and not false hope from individuals who can articulate well or put the right words together. We ain't got time for that. We are bringing a hope message. We are bringing a change process message that we desire the entire populace to gravitate towards, because that is what we are going to do. And that change message and hope message is capsuled in our policy agenda as the National Democratic Congress and our astute political leader as he charts the way forward with his team for the kind of progress that we need, especially now.
But you're saying hope, but there's some who have argued that politicians would be politicians. They come in different shades, sizes, forms, but at the end of the day, they are all
self-serving,
flip side of the coin, no different. Why then should I try to embrace this so-called change?
The politicians that we have grown accustomed to are the politicians that we have grown accustomed to. Yeah? We have seen one particular type of politics and one particular type of politrics. Yeah? We have grown accustomed to, as I alluded to before, a particular type of political culture, and I may even add political anansiism and political demagoguery, and those two words just basically mean trickery and just beating around the bush, really. I think it's time for a new breed of politicians and leaders, not just politicians, but leaders, because there is a stark difference. Yeah, a new breed of politician who are also leaders in their own right and in their own fields, to take the platform and to really change the political landscape of Grenada, where Grenadians begin to see a different type of politics that is not corrupt, a different type of politics. No, disclaimer, we don't know the heart of man, yeah, because people do change.
I'm thinking we cannot speak that isn't corrupt. Show me where it is.
We cannot speak to the heart of man and the evolution process of man as to how somebody may change coming into the arena. But I believe that a lot of the challenges and circumstances that come our way as politicians are moral issues. They're moral issues. Taking a bribe, Joseph, is a moral issue. Taking something under the counter is a moral issue. And if your morals are upside down coming in, they may as well remain upside down sitting. Yeah, but if your agenda is right, if your morals are of a particular standard coming in, really and truly, to some extent, I don't see how you'll be able to be swayed.
But I think you've probably, I'm not sure, but that's the point that people are making. It is a moral issue. People lack moral suasion. And the argument is that we live in a society, 20, 30 years ago, when there was relativity and there was objectivity in our lives. The Bible says X, Y, and Z, and we went by that. In the last 2 decades,
3 or 4 decades,
that has been out the window, and there's been what's relative, the feel good, and that's what people are now buying into. So if that has been the prevailing atmosphere, the argument is the question of morality when it comes to politicians that no longer exists. So for everybody else that comes, they may just fit a different shape and form, but believe me.
And the operative term that you just used there is that they may just fit. Do you believe that there are exceptions to the rule?
You have to tell me. I'm not
I don't want to be bad this morning.
I'm not here to answer questions. You're here to answer the questions.
There are exceptions to the rule, Joseph, and I mean, throughout your lifetime or lifespan, I'm sure that you have seen exception to the rules where many things are concerned, whether it be integrity, character, morality, etc., good standing, goodwill, what have you. Yeah, and I believe that there are exceptions to the rules. People's character and integrity will come into question at some particular point in time because of what the masses may hear or because of what the masses may see, but I believe believe that personal responsibility, I go back to personal responsibility. If you are taking up public office, you have a personal responsibility to be an excellent steward over the resources that were placed into your care. Human resources, material resources. And rightly and justly so. Yeah, nobody's not saying that you may not make a mistake or two along the way, but your moral fabric remains intact as to who you are, the principles you stand for and upon, and what you believe in.
What you believe in.
Yeah, what you believe
Change is coming, they say. 29 minutes gone past the hour in the morning time. We take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll open up the telephone lines. We'll also engage some of our contributors that is on social media. To the point this morning, my guest this morning, Jonathan Crette. We'll be right back.
You know, one day I woke up and, you know, they painted a set of pedestrian crossing all along the streets. You know, nobody told us how to use that thing properly.
I know how.
You're serious?
Every safe, good driver knows about these things. As a driver, you have to be very attentive. You know you're coming up close to a pedestrian cross, you start slowing down immediately, looking to see if there's any pedestrian on the side getting ready to cross. If there is, you stop on the line that is a certain distance before the crosswalk. Then you would see the pedestrian put their hands out, looking directly at you, indicating that they are going to cross. And only when you have come to a complete stop, that is when they will quickly and safely cross to the other side. And then you continue happily on your journey.
Stop, look, hand out, eye contact, wait for pedestrian to cross. Then you happily continue on your journey.
This message is brought to you by this group of insurance companies, the Traffic Advisory Body, and the Traffic Department.
Welcome back to the program, To The Point, for today, the 15th day of March. My guest this morning, NDC's caretaking representative for the Northwest, Jonathan Crette. At this point, we're going to open up the telephone lines, as you can well imagine, the number on the inside, 435-2041. We're also going to give you an opportunity. You can post your comments via the WhatsApp portal, number being 435-2041, and we'll engage your comments on the different social media platforms. We go to the telephone line. Good morning, caller. You're live.
Good morning to my beautiful brother Joseph.
Good morning to you.
And good morning to my beautiful, handsome brother by your side there.
Good morning.
John. Brother John, how are you, darling?
I'm doing well this morning, thank you. I trust the same for yourself.
Yes, man, I do well by the grace of God. Daddy, that about there. So, my dear brother John, you take it easy. You should know who I am. I'm Mr. Jacob. And I wish you all the best going forward. I wish you all the best, darling.
Okay.
So just have your eyes focused on the Almighty Father. If you take your mind out of it, everything will go wrong. Okay, sweetheart?
Very much.
Thank you very much.
God bless you, and I love you.
Thank you. I love you too.
Right.
All the best to you. 435-2041 as the number on the inside. We go back to the telephone lines. Classic, good morning. Your live caller. Good morning, caller. You're live.
Yes, good morning, Joe. Good morning to you again. In the beginning, when you mentioned about being Christian and being political, and, you know, people have the feeling that a Christian should not be in politics. But I just want to remind us that Daniel, Azariah, Mishael, and Hazariah, they were all Christian men. and they were in the kingdom of Babylon. They worked as people in government, and they stood up for God. They stood up for God to the point where they were thrown in the fiery furnace, put in the lion's den, because they stood up for righteousness. Despite of what the government came with, they stood for righteousness, and they ended up in being persecuted. But see, God came through for these three guys, and He came through for Daniel. So I want to encourage your brother who says he's a believer. I don't know him, but I hope that he's going there not for himself, but as somebody sent by God, because God is concerned about this nation. And where this nation is heading is not where God wanted to go. So He needs people who would turn the nation around from where it's headed, because it's headed in the opposite direction. And if whoever call themselves Christians and are going into political arena and they're just going for themselves, it don't make sense they're going. You better just forget it. So you have to go in there, and make sure you stand up for God. You have to be in prayer and fasting. You have to seek the face of God for guidance and direction.
Okay.
If not, you will not succeed. Thank you.
Thank you.
All the best,
caller. Much appreciated.
452041. That's the number on the inside. Man, you can call directly into the studio. We have another caller on the line. Good morning, caller. You're alive.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Cadore. Greetings. Greetings to your guests. I must indeed welcome the gentleman to the fray. Listen, in this here country over the years, I've recognized that many people join us as quote-unquote politicians, but immediately they hold political office, they turn into demagogues. I don't want that anymore for this here country. Therefore, sir, I ask you the following questions, and I urge that you be meticulous in the answers. I do hope that if and when you get the opportunity, that you would serve the people of this country with honesty. Listen to my question. But one, I have two of them. One, can you give me two, not me, but at least the population, two philosophical beliefs which set the basis for the political, economic, and social theories that you propose to sell, first to your constituents, and secondly, to the people of this country? Only two philosophical beliefs. Two, evidence abounds that this here country is ruled by an impeachment of the Queen's most excellent majesty that has never been made, otherwise known as the Constitution of Grenada, which was never made into law. Evidence abounds. Can you tell me what's your position on this, and what you and your party that you represent propose to do to change this? Thank you very much, and have a nice day.
Thank you very much, caller. Mr. Crette?
Two philosophical stands. One, I've always held the view that people must come before paper. Yeah, it is something that as an educator I held very dear to, especially in interacting and engaging with my students and staff and other educators across the education field. People before paper, and also empowering my constituents or empowering people to take part effectively in the political process of Grenada. Yeah. As it relates to the second question, my party is definitely going to put forward a policy stance on that soon. So I urge the caller to stand by and keep your ears open, and you will definitely hear from us as a collective unit very soon when our policy agenda hits the airwaves.
Thank you. Good morning. Another caller. Good morning, caller. You're alive. Your question, please.
Good morning.
Good morning to you, caller.
Morning, Uncle Joe. How you do?
Excellent as always.
Good
thanks.
morning to your guest. Now, I want to ask your guest this question. One question. There is a bit of concern as a citizen. Now, I'm not in the hotel arena. I'm senior already, like I said. But now there's people that employ in the hotel. They are not unionized. They do not have any, anyway, how I should put it, any support on the outside. As if the hotel wants to fire you, like you have no say. Now, most people want to get into the union system, but they have to go through under, and when at a certain time, sometimes somebody talks and everything go haywire, they throw you out. Now, I have a suggestion while I've been thinking of that for a long time. The same way we have the NIS, like whenever you employ, wherever, the NIS is there. Is there a way that it can be done at least? We have representation. The workers have representation, regardless of what field you are in. Can this be done? Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller. Thank you for your question, caller. Much appreciated. It's a very pertinent question, Joseph, and it is also a part of our package for our policy agenda. So to callers to stay tuned, our policy agenda should hit the airways very soon. Party leader will articulate our position as a National Democratic Congress on those two critical issues, because it is very important that workers have a voice and that they have representation that champion their cause with where particular industry issues and circumstances are concerned. We believe firmly in that. Yeah.
20 minutes on to the hour of 10 o'clock in the morning time. Mr. Crette, you've, as a former educator, one of the current challenges we deal with in society is that which is inarguable and increasing occasions of violence within our young people and even within the schools. We've seen it. We've only in more recent times, a young man got into an altercation with law enforcement, but there just seemed to be this growing sense of violence. What's your take on it, though? You spent 20 years canvassing the classroom as an educator, and I know I say canvassing, and that's what you did. Your thoughts, though, as to where were young people, where they are positioned, their mind is right now?
To be quite honest with you, I think that our curriculum is too academic. And that it needs to evolve into things like conflict resolution, behavioral management techniques, and all those things capsuled in the conflict revolution category or banner. I think our young people are frustrated, Joseph. From speaking to them as of, Sunday, I was in Fountain, just chilling with a lot of the young people. I think they are frustrated. The outlet for them is aggression. The outlet is violence, because that is how they feel they can have some kind of redress or be heard, or people may take notice of them. And I think that it starts with a conversation with our youth, especially at the school level, but primarily more so at the domestic level. Remember, Joseph, the societal structure as to what our domestic environment looks like has been eroded terribly. You have a lot of single-parent families, and they are trying to ensure that they feed their families, so they don't have time to talk to their sons or talk to their daughters. The kind of nuclear and extended family structure that we may have been accustomed to over the past 4 or 5 decades, it's no longer there, and that is just the reality. We have younger parents, and that is another growing reality, who may not have had the opportunity to pursue their career or to become the kind of professional that they want. So now that you are a teenager and you can fend for yourself, I'm going after my dreams and my career, see how you could make it kind of thing. And from coming out of the school system, you have all those dynamics working against the children. And for both boys and girls, you recognize that the children just want to be loved. At the core of everything, you recognize that the children just want to be loved, they want to be heard, and they want to make sure that there is someone that is there 24/7 for them when they need to speak about a particular issue or a particular subject. So the normative perspective that we have grown accustomed to over the years is no longer a part of societal norms. They have eroded, and that is why we need to re-educate and we need to reteach. I'm not saying necessarily that we need to bring back those norms or bring back those perspectives because societies have evolved, but we must be able to stand up on the fabric and platform of some things that we held dear to, like good character, behave yourself seemingly, respect, honor for elderly people, and for your peers on a whole. I think that there's some fundamental things, values and principles that we definitely need to go back to and hold dear to. Our youth, they're looking for... They want to have a voice, but there isn't an ear for listening. I think that is how I'm going to just categorize it. They want to have a voice, but there isn't an ear for listening. You have been a youth leader in church for a number of years because you were my youth leader for a particular season in my teenage and maybe young adult life growing up, and you saw us grow. But yourself and Eva McDonald Richards, I almost didn't give her a hand. You guys were there for us consistently when we needed an ear to talk. So it kind of navigated us in a particular direction where we did not get into things that did not bring the name of, the good name of our parents or our family into disrepute. And also the church, we had individuals who listened, we had individuals who offered the right kind of counsel, and that's another issue. Who are our young people engaging? Who are they talking to in order for them to have the right kind of counsel? What are they listening to? What are they reading in order for them to be able to navigate their lives in a particular trajectory so that they become the kind of citizens that we want them to? So it's a multilateral approach. It's a multi-sectoral approach to getting our youth back on track. Ministry of Youth or Sports cannot do it alone. Ministry of Education will not be able to do it alone. Prime Minister cannot do it alone. It's a multi-sectoral approach from all angles.
15 minutes onto the hour. Good morning, caller. You're live.
Good morning, Jesse.
Good morning,
Sherry George, St. David Vendors Market.
Good morning to you.
At my age, 68, I love to say my age because I'm proud of it. At my age, 68, I'm sitting there. I say, Lord, you mean I'm going to die with all this work and don't see Grenada transform with good leadership for Grenada? And I'm sitting there, and Mr. Crette touched on something I would have talked about, the senior citizens. All the contribution that we have made over the years and come home with nothing. Look, yesterday I moved from my house, I go up Current, I walk about, I'm saying I'm going to have a senior citizen day out on the 2nd of April in the vendors market. Bring them test their pressure, let them have a day out, play the little Jim Reeves, play the little Charlie Pride, the Posse Sledge, give them a little hot meal, and then they sit down and enjoy the day and bring them out. Oh my God, they sit there time and time again just yearning. So my question would be about the senior citizens, and I'm thinking about the youth, I'm thinking about health, and I'm thinking about agriculture. This is my 4 point. And I just want to say thank you very much, Mr. Crette. Probably I thinking I would not have seen the day when NDC would have emerged with some leaders like that, because it's about leadership. And I want to say, I'm going to pray for Grenada on a whole. It's not no specific, because we have to pray for those in authority as well, as you know, and continue to see Grenada move to the next level. Before I close my eye, Lord, I want to see Grenada move to a next level where people will not only depend on handout, but they will get a hand up. God bless you. Have a lovely day.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's really heartwarming to hear remarks like these, because our senior citizens paved the way, and they, produce the platform upon which we stand right now. They cannot be forgotten. They were the public servants of yesteryear, the individuals who worked in the private sector of yesteryear, and those who worked in the NGO sector of yesteryear, and they, in some way, form, shape, or size, have paved the way. I mean, we're standing up on their shoulders right now, and in my constituency, canvassing the constituency and you're engaging senior citizens, I generally they share the same sentiments like my sister who just called. They want to be able to see a transformed Grenada before they close their eyes. And that is something that we may not be able to promise verbally, and we may not even be able to promise on paper, but our presence in the political arena right now and the new breed of leadership that individuals are seeing emerging, especially from the National Democratic Congress, I am telling you, we are going to transform and change the way politics and Grenada is moving right now. I said to a few people last week, there are a number of things that we may not be able to do, but I said Grenadians will definitely have to give us at least 2 to 3 terms in office for them to be able to see the kind of change process that we're talking about. 1 term is not going to cut it, Joseph, because by the time you sit down, it's 3.5, 4 years.
But do you get the sense, and I'm often say one of the challenges you have with politicians, that we overpromise. Yeah, we exaggerate that we can be our deliverables and
it's superfluous.
So I'm going to give you this in 1 year. Do you think that that's a challenge that the politicians just need to be honest and say to people, highlight, share the vision, and let's work on it as we go along?
It's part of the landscape of politics. I think it is enshrined in political behavior. Apart from that, for example, I was in Fountainoy on Sunday, and a couple of the guys said to me, Laco, we know that you have a lot of big projects in your mind coming on stream because you're a big thinker, you're a visionary leader. But for now, in the here and now, this is one thing we need in the community for us to be able to have some kind of recreational event on a Saturday, a Friday night, etc. in the community center. And I said, but that's doable. Even as early as this week, that's doable. So I think some small wins is necessary as a politician, even if whether you are on the government side or you are on the opposition side coming in, some small wins is necessary in the community. But also, you let the people know that I cannot promise you the moon and the stars, but definitely there are some fundamental things that we must work on together as a community, as a constituency, together. You hold my hand and I hold yours, and we work on those things together, and we see the fruition or the manifestation of it together. And I believe that's the best way forward to go. So I am not promising individuals anything that I know I would not be able to deliver, especially in 1 term, if the minds of the electorate change. So that's why I'm saying that sometimes you need to give governments some time for them to be able to bring into fruition that which they have promised, and sustainably so.
Good morning, caller. You're alive?
Yeah, hello, good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning. You're alive.
Yeah. I love that level of conversation. This is a conversation we need to be here. We need to be truthful, because NDC was given a chance, and when they work, and they had to get a 2nd term in order to produce, people wasn't satisfied. And then it happened again in 2008. Okay? So if that conversation you're having, you let people know things will happen like that. It's everybody hands have to be on the deck in order to get things going. But one conversation I want to hear also, when you listen to the budget, you're hearing something like $35 million put aside for youth and certain ministries for the year. But the ending up of the day, when you look at the condition and what from 25 or how much years this kind of budget being put forward for youth programs, and the same persons who was leading this program is leading in education today. And look what happened on the street with that young man with the police and many other issues. Look up in the mental home. Look on the street, what is happening. Okay, a lot of the youths don't even have a skill. And I would like to hear more conversation around that line. This money, somebody needs to give account to this. If this money is really truly spent on this, where this money is really spent. Look at agriculture. Presently, right now, wheat could be an issue. And up to the date, you haven't heard a minister or nobody, even at CARICOM level, talking to people, is to try quick to see how they could put plans in place to do short crop and to put the people to put food. And it become one of the problems here. People cannot afford to buy food.
Okay.
This is the level of conversation, but I appreciate what you're saying, sir.
Thank you, sir.
We need to be truthful. We need to be truthful. Thank you.
Bless you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate your comment.
8 minutes on to the hour in the morning time.
We were having a conversation, Joseph, off air about trust. and rightly so. People just don't trust politicians because over the years, I think our current politicians and past politicians have not been very truthful with people. For example, right now across St. George Northwest, one thing that is doable in the here and now is just the fixing the image of all of our community centers and transforming them into learning community centers, because those that are not closed are being used otherwise. Yeah, and the reason why you have a community center is because you want to have some degree of community engagement and some level of community empowerment at the community level that is sustainable. Individuals can know this is the place I can go for social programs or for social reform. I can learn, I can evolve, my life can be transformed with the knowledge that I gain here from this training session, etc. And now I can go back and propagate that in my home and also transform, well, through information, transform the lives of the individuals who are within my immediate context. So I think it all goes back to the first point that I made. We just lack the political will to just get up and align ourselves to the agenda that we've promised and get the job done.
Good morning, caller. 5 minutes onto the hour. You're live.
Yes, Mr. Cadore, briefly. Beg your indulgences. Listen, the question that I threw out to the gentleman, the first question, seemingly did not understand it. I want him to pay attention to the second part of it. I asked for two philosophical beliefs which will set the basis for the political, economical, and social theories that he proposed herself for the people. Seemingly didn't understand it. It is true it was a bit impromptu, the question, but I'd like to leave it for him so that he can do some homework, that the next time he comes back, he will answer it properly for me. Philosophical beliefs. Thank you very much and have a nice day. Will you?
Thank you very much, Cole.
I understood the question quite well, Joseph. I understood the question quite well, and I think that I answered the question. I said people before paper, and politics is about people, political, philosophical beliefs at the core and at the base of everything. The reason why you get into office, it is because it's about people. You want to transform the lives of people. You want to make people's livelihood better. So that is why I said people before paper. Our interests, our trajectory, our policy agenda, it must cascade into what people desire, what people want, and how are we going to build the lives of people from a relationship and conversational perspective. And then I said the empowerment of people. We must be able to empower our people. What we have is a dying democracy or a shriveling democracy, and we must be able to empower our people to speak when they have issues and challenges and circumstances facing them concerning various aspects of our economy, and respectfully so. Yeah. So the empowerment of people and putting people first. That is what politics is all about from a political, philosophical perspective. The foundation of politics is about people, Joseph, because when we get in, the people who is serving people. Mm-hmm. The people are the ones who vote us into office because they trust what we say and they trust that we are going to execute what we say. So as a result of that foundationally, and that is why I gave those two political philosophical. I don't know if Sir was speaking about something else that he may like to share with me off air via telephone when I get off. But those are my two political, philosophical stance. Yeah, and also as it relates to the policy agenda of the National Democratic Congress, all of our policies, Joseph, it cascades into the development of people and it cascades into the building of people and valuing the human resource of a nation and capitalizing on the competencies and skills of the human resource to build a very strong and industrious citizenry.
People before paper.
Yep.
I think that's where we leave the conversation for now. 2 minutes on to the hour in the morning time. Indeed, it was always a pleasure being here with you, Johnny. We've started the conversation.
Yes.
And I hope, however the political landscape it churns out and navigates itself in the next couple of months, weeks, and years. I certainly hope that we'll continue to have that committed conversation that
most
speaks
assuredly.
to developing our people People before paper. I'm going to hold on to that one. It'll be simple.
People before paper.
People before paper. Yeah. Indeed, it was a pleasure being here with you, Mr. Crette. I want to say thanks to all of our viewers that chimed in via the Facebook page or YouTube channel. Indeed, it was a pleasure. Alistair Walwood, Akeem Lewis, Susan Joseph, the entire kit and caboose, the entire family that is there that keeps you busy on social media. It is always a pleasure being here with you. Tomorrow, being Wednesday, we will be having another episode of To The Point, and as you can well appreciate, we'll have somebody from the Ruling Administration. Programming wise, at the top of the hour, we'll join the GIS for today's post-cabinet briefing, and that comes up in just a bit. Until then, folks, as I say to you every day, we continue to live life and love life. Yes. Treat each day as though it's your last day. You live and let live. When you sleep, you wake and recognize that you're still here. You ask yourself, why am I here? And I start living all over again to fulfill the dream and the vision of a better me, a better you, a better community, a better Grenada, a better world. Until then, so long everybody. JC loves you. Have a great one.